Every story has a backstory, and at 12 News, we want to share it with you and give you a glimpse into the process of how the stories we cover come together. Everything from how we find a story, the challenges we encountered in reporting on it, and diving deeper into all the details of the biggest stories of the day. This is The Backstory.
Are Arizona's highways lined by dangerous guardrails? Following a deadly guardrail crash in February, the victims' families in that crash are now filing precursors to a lawsuit against the state.
12 News journalist Colleen Sikora has been following the developments in this case. Colleen, what are the families claiming here?
Yeah, these two notices of claim seek a total of $56 million from the state. Here's the background. Valley teens Jackson Elliott and Jet Weinstein hit a guardrail on I-17 south of Cordis Junction when they were on their way home from Snow Bowl. The documents say the guardrail came through the front passenger door, through the inside of the car, and out the driver's side door. Jackson was killed in the crash and Jet lost his right leg. We've been investigating the specific type of guardrail and why it was on the road. Our reporting finds this guardrail, called the ET+, has a controversial history, including spearing into cars and injuring and killing people. A new revelation in these documents, a claim that the guardrail shouldn't have been on I-17 because of the speed limit. Here's Jet, the survivor of the crash from earlier this year.
I just think about like the second we make contact and like me waking up and like not knowing what's going on, just like trying to grab the handle. It was laying on me. It's heavy. I remember it coming through the car like this, on my lap just like this. I couldn't move it.
Now attorneys for Jet and Jackson's family accuse ADOT and the state of Arizona of negligence for leaving that guardrail and others on the roads.
Yeah, and you recognize those, Colleen. You see those all over the place. So does ADOT know that they've got an issue here? They're admitting it.
So they know that there's more than 4,000 of these guardrails on the roads. Back in 2014, they actually removed this from their approved products list, removed the ET+, because it was under investigation by the Federal Highway Administration. But they decided after that investigation, because the Federal Highway Administration said that no, this meets applicable safety criteria, that they could leave it on the roads where it was. So 4,000 still remain there today, saying that basically they'll take these and replace them if they're hit. The one in this crash has been replaced on I-17, or if there's new construction coming through.
But at this point, there are no plans to remove the ones now if they're not damaged.
No.
All right. Thank you very much, Colleen.
Wrong for Arizona.
Kari Lake's not conservative. She's nuts.
Pretty much every commercial break,
border chaos is causing crime.
There's an ad telling you how terrible someone is.
Force you into government-run socialized medicine.
Then join Democrats in sending our taxes to fund illegal migrants.
How common are negative ads? We took the hit so you don't have to, and watched a full hour of TV just to count and watch the political ads. Here's what we found. There were 39 total commercials. Of those, 14 were negative, 22 were not about politics, and only 3 were positive ads. By positive, we mean they don't criticize their opponent. So it's not just you. There are a ton of negative ads right now.
Once that first negative ad has been launched, then it sort of becomes an all-out war.
So do negative ads work? Samara Klar is a political science professor at U of A.
It's a really hard question to answer, because if you ask people, do you like negative ads? They will say, no, we hate them. Nobody likes negative ads. But obviously there has to be something there, because they do keep using them. We know that there are some things that can be pretty effective. And one of those things is, instilling a fear or threat or anxiety in voters.
Where did this come from? Klar says we just got used to the lack of civility in politics.
When you ask people, how do you feel about your own party and how do you feel about the other party, over time, and this has gone on for decades, people increasingly say they really do not like the other party, the party they don't vote for.
But Klar says they don't hate the people who vote that way, just the candidates and the party. So will there ever be any end to this?
Americans really hate political aggression, hostility, and fighting. And to me, one of the best pieces of evidence is the declining percentage of Americans who will identify with a party.
In Arizona, independents are now the second biggest voter registration. But even so, the negative ads keep on coming. William Pitts, 12 News.
Joining me now for the backstory on this particular topic is 12 News journalist William Pitts. So, let's talk about campaign ad fatigue. We have 34 days to go. That's a lot of ads. Is that going to turn voters off at any point?
I mean, I got a lot of fatigue just sitting there watching it for an hour. You know, some of these breaks I actually watched, there was one ad that was not political in one of these breaks.
Insane.
It was just 7 straight minutes of negativity. I don't think it's going to make anybody not vote.
Sure.
But it's going to be a rough rough month.
Right, and it already has been. It seems like we just get inundated with these. So did the professor have any additional insight as to the number and the amount of ads that we're seeing? We know we're going to get negative ads, but then the number of them seems to grow every election.
We're going to get a lot of them. One interesting thing she said was she doesn't really know how it affects the race necessarily, because everybody always claims, you know, I'm going to run a clean race, I'm not going to go negative, and that lasts until somebody does. No one's ever not gone negative after that. So she doesn't really know what happens to a race if you stay positive while the other guy goes negative, because it doesn't happen.
Well, and I think as we all agreed in the newsroom, it was nice to see a clean debate last night about policy instead of the mudslinging that we've seen. So maybe we'll see that trend in the next election cycle.
We got enough mudslinging in the commercial breaks.
Yes, we do. We don't need any more of it. Will, with the backstory, thank you so much.
It is the stunning finale to our series, He Made Me Do It, that does a deep dive into a violent armed robbery at a jewelry store in Anthem. The jeweler was shot and hurt, and the 2 suspects were arrested in California after a wild U-Haul chase. The duo behind it both sentenced to prison in the robbery case, even though Helen Simmons said that Matthew Jones forced her into the crime. The I-Team's Erica Stapleton investigated whether her allegations of abuse and trafficking were ignored. We do want to warn you that details of the story could be troubling for some to watch.
When Helen Simmons and Matthew Jones were first arrested in the U-Haul, Helen said they were on their way to see the ocean at Huntington Beach. She never made it, just like she never made it to ASU, never made it to her journalism classes, never made it to her dream. It all came crashing down.
Nothing good comes out of anything bad, but I think that the legal system has taken action.
But again, she's made these claims of he abused her into it, he abused her after.
Who knows? I can't comment on that. I don't know. It'd be a shame if that's what happened. It really would.
Like the judge basically said, if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have committed it. Then why is she serving 6 years?
As much as Helen's loved ones and advocates want to see her out of prison, there's a part of Helen that's conflicted.
In some ways, it's a good thing because, you know, he's going to be locked up for a long time, and he won't be able to hurt anybody else. He won't be able to hurt another woman or another stranger.
I'm still am planning when I get out and all this is over with. I'm still going to graduate from ASU. You know, I'd like to, I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of dreams and goals, but I want to help other women.
I hope that other women can see this and not feel alone. Maybe they can reach out and get help, because not a lot of women know how to.
Helen finally got away from Matthew Jones, but she won't get out of prison until 2028.
Incredible reporting. Erica joining me now for the backstory. Erica, there has been so much overwhelming information and items that would really support Helen's claims that she was abused, that she was trafficked. Why wasn't any of that available to her, or why wasn't any of this disclosed during her trial?
You know, Jonathan, it's tough because I feel like what we found in our investigation was that there were these paths to go down where you can either confirm or dispute what Helen was saying there, and they just weren't explored by law enforcement. We uncovered that there were agencies in California and Arizona both involved in this, and we had questions for all of them, but none of them agreed to do an interview with us. So we've looked through the records, and some of those records Helen didn't even have access to until after she was in prison, and we found them and said, hey, what do you think of these? And she's like, I didn't even know there were these cases where I'm labeled as a victim. So there's a lot of questions as to how this unfolded and whether it could have been treated differently, whether the outcome was the same or not, we will never know that.
Resources readily available to her, all of this information that she just did not have access to at all.
No, and when you talk about resources too, I think we learned that she felt that she wasn't, this duality of being a suspect and a victim. She felt that being a suspect in this robbery case, which was of course very significant and impacted so many people, it really overshadowed her claims, which could be a reason why maybe some of them weren't explored fully. But we also learned that maybe, someone who is in a victim position could have access to advocates and resources, and those were things that Helen didn't get to until, way down the line in her case. So there are a lot of things to unpack, and again, that was just a very small snippet of our entire investigation. So I would encourage everyone to go watch, the full series, He Made Me Do It, on 12 News Plus. But I will say too that there are really no winners in this case. Really, everyone's lives changed.
Yes, right. And she's in prison until, you said, 2028.
Yeah, it'll be a long time. He got 30 years, so he has much longer to serve. But that's just how the justice system played out with this one.
Wow. And let's hope that there is some justice for her after she is able to get out. She can start to rebuild her life. And there are other advocates or someone that she will have a support system readily available to her as she moves through this process.
Absolutely.
All right. 12 News I-Team reporter Erica Stapleton, more than an hour worth of investigations as part of this series. A great job, Erica. Thanks so much.
Thank you for watching this week's Backstory. We do this weekly on 12 News at 4. Please join us at that time, or you can watch us on our YouTube channel and right here on our 12 Plus app.